Hi, welcome to One for the Road, where we navigate sobriety, recovery, and life in general. Tune in as we share our experience and opinions while answering any questions you may have.
I didn't even introduce you. You gotta wait for me to introduce you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is my co-host, Judy.
Hello. I'm totally off script.
Yeah.
Totally off script.
Just feral over here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button. We're on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. We're on TikTok. I didn't even announce it. We're on Instagram and TikTok.
We don't know what we're doing.
We don't know what we're doing.
So keep your expectations very, very low.
But we're on there and we are making we're figuring it out. We're figuring it out. We're
Slowly but surely, for sure.
Yes.
Oops, I just kicked the table.
So all right.
Episode part 2 of today, because we're in person.
Right, so we're just trying to do all the recording while we're together because someone
and we have
to live states away.
Yeah, and we have a lot to say.
Yeah,
as usual.
So
all the time.
Let's talk about emotional sobriety.
Oh, I don't have that.
That's
why we're talking about it.
Yeah, so I had looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, let's look up. I just wanted to see what is emotional sobriety, because I noticed that you and I talk about it all the time because it is it's the most important thing, which is something that I always fucking say.
For sure.
But it is the most important thing because that's my thing. And it says one of the cornerstones of alcoholism recovery is a concept called emotional sobriety. The idea is that alcoholics and other addicts hoping to stay sober over the long haul must learn to regulate the negative feelings that can lead to discomfort, craving, and ultimately relapse. And I know for me, it's been explained to me that I have a disease of perception. I have this thinking disease. And so my bullshit starts right in the middle of my fucking head.
Between the ears,
right? So that's where it starts. And I have to, and I absolutely have to, if I want to stay sober, if I want to stay sober, I have to learn to manage.
Regulate.
Learn to manage all of those big fucking emotions, the jealousy, the anger, the fear, all of it, the denial, all the big stuff, all those big, low self-esteem.
Big self-esteem.
Right. Ego, right? Ego. Anything, I have to keep all of that stuff in check. And that shit is so exhausting. But if I don't, I can justify and convince myself that life sucks and I need a drink because that's my coping, as an alcoholic, that's my coping mechanism. That's the default coping mechanism. All this other shit takes fucking work. Picking up the drink takes no work whatsoever.
Right.
Zero effort.
For sure.
So we're going to talk about emotional sobriety, what that looks like in our lives, how we manage those big emotions, to the best that we can, because we still struggle. We still
regularly, and I think that that's always what it is, right? Because you said emotional sobriety. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't have that, and I haven't. This vacation, we were just saying, is it really a vacation? No, it's really not. I mean, taking a break from life for sure, but throwing in all of these things, right? All of the other personalities,
right,
of the people, right? Like kids and friends and all of that stuff. And having to navigate that and still maintain some sort of emotional balance, right? I think that that's what it is, because you've talked about the thinking problem. I too, of course, have that, right? And so my expectation of people, my expectation of self, right? And then, what defect is that, what's playing around in there is a fear like everything's an emergency. I'm super important. I need to get to here. I need to get to there. And those things are insidiously not obvious. They are not obvious. They sneak in when I least expect it. I don't recognize them immediately. I need more often than not people to tell me that, hey, you're kind of doing this thing. Sure. You're taking this personally, or whatever that looks like, right? And then it also, and so what happens is that more often than not today, I can catch myself, right? And I say the things, but that doesn't mean that I immediately change my behavior. And like last night, right? Feeling some type of way. And I'm like, well, Judy, you need to this and this. And I recognized all of these things. However, it didn't stop the tears. It didn't stop the thinking. It didn't stop any of the other stuff. And then so today, right? Talking to a sober mentor, talking to Marissa, and then what does that look like, right? And now I'm left with beating myself up, because if I can't beat up all the other people,
Right.
I'm left with me, right? And rather than cut myself some slack, and I think that, what do I do with that, right? It's just not about taking those personal inventories daily. For sure, that's part of what keeps me sober emotionally, but also that it's not just all negative stuff, right? That it's not all red ink.
Yeah.
There's some black ink there too, right? There's some good stuff going on as well. And how I can adjust that perception, right? That switching with how I look at things, myself and others.
Right. Change your mind, change your world.
Ideally,
Right.
Yeah.
So
So what do you do? What do you do, right? I mean, having the tools and recognizing things, and then still not choosing to do the thing.
That's the hardest part, right? Because so if I can get to a point where I'm aware of how I feel, right? If I get to a point where I'll just use an expectation, right? I know I have an expectation, right?
Mhm.
And I know I shouldn't have that expectation, right? I should allow everything to play out how it's supposed to play out, and I should just be okay with it, whatever. So I know that, right? I know that I have that expectation. It's still not going my way.
I don't like that.
And I want to act out, right? I want to act out when I'm not getting my way, right? And expectation is thinking that something should be a certain way.
My way.
Well, right, my way. right, always my way.
Right.
But having that expectation, and then how do I adjust myself to not do the silent scorning because I'm mad,
right.
Or to not pop off we were just talking about this yesterday, where we felt over
can't
here,
win.
Can't fucking win, right? If I'm not motherfucking you and telling you how terrible you are,
then I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna do you a favor, and I'm gonna shut up.
And I'm gonna be quiet, and so
and then everybody's, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong? But I can't tell you what's wrong with me, because
right.
then I'm gonna be the jerk, and so I'm actually just putting this out there, and that's a question that I need the answer to, but it's always been explained to me I can think and I can feel however I want to think and feel, right? But it comes down to how am I treating the other people in my life? Am I being kind with my words?
And that's the answer to the question, right? Because I don't have to pop off and motherfuck everybody around me. I also don't need to be you know what? I'm going to do you that favor and I'm going to shut up. Yeah. I can still attempt to manage my tone and my words and engage with others while still not getting my way.
Well, and it's
that's
fake it
the
till
challenge.
You make it.
That's
it is
the
a
challenge.
Fake it till you make it kind of thing, right?
Because
I will be raging on the inside, and I get
overhead. But see, and isn't that the thing, right? When we were saying, you can't win. That's right there. That's still ego. Now I'm the victim.
Yeah.
I'm the victim because I can't say anything.
Yeah.
And now that I'm not saying anything, you think something it's all fucking high drama, dude. And this is where I've been. This is what it's at. I just can't win. So now I'm the victim again. Nobody understands. It was some shit. I just can't.
Yeah.
Back to sobriety is still hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
fucking
yeah. Yeah. Well, the emotional sobriety, that, get rid of the drink and the drugs and that.
And I'm left with myself.
Well, but that's the easier part of the process. It really is.
Well, looking back now, for sure.
Right. Yeah, that's the easier part of the process. When I sober up, I still have me and all my emotions to deal with. And alcoholics, man, at least the ones that I know and I'm around, we are fucking sensitive. Right. Everything is high drama.
Sure.
I've been, fortunate enough to spend some time around people that are not former alcoholics, and to see how they like seem to manage life, which I know nobody's killing the game. You
Right,
know,
yeah, nobody's killing it, right?
right.
We all have, right,
But
work in progress.
things that we're like, oh, they're like, what do you mean? Like,
Like,
why is that even a thing?
why is-
Like,
right.
why do you even care? And
For
I'm like,
sure.
how do you not care? Oh my God.
Finding that little thread in the
Right,
sweater,
right.
the tiniest
Right,
thread,
yeah,
and unraveling
yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
fucking thing, man.
And so that emotion, like that is then the hard part.
For
learning
sure.
to manage,
Yeah,
learning to manage all the other stuff.
right.
Learning to manage, I came in here with a lot of fear, and I will act,
A fool.
I can't even words cannot even describe how outrageous I can act when I'm in a place of fear. And for me, I have learned that any emotion that I have can be brought back to fear.
For sure.
If I am envious, that is fear that I'm not going to have something
Or lose something.
that I want,
Sure.
and it's so self-centered.
Well, and that's,
It's totally about myself. It's always about me.
Well, and that's this, and I can relate, right? Because if it's not fear, my ego comes into play when I'm afraid. My anger looks like whatever. It comes all back down to fear for me, right? Fear of getting the thing, fear of losing the thing, fear of not having it go my way, fear of having it go my way. I'm afraid of all of the shit, and I didn't know that it was all fear-based, right? And then of course it's all about me, how I want it, how I think it should be, what I think you should do.
Yeah.
Constantly trying to maneuver all of these things, so I wind up sitting pretty. And what I found, through working a recovery program, is that a lot of those things for me, it's just in that place of letting it go, right? Because when I thought I was going to maneuver all the things to sit pretty, right, I wound up not being happy. So like never happy with anything, regardless of it even going my way, because it still would never measure up.
Well, yeah, and anything I have had some experience in this department, and when I let things go and let things work out like organically, and when I get what I need versus what I want, I'm way happier. But if I have to twist and manipulate and rearrange and do all the stuff, then I am never satisfied.
Right.
I have no gratitude for the situation and what it is. And most of the time people are like pissed off at me.
Well,
too,
sure, left alone with you. Right.
Yeah, and
right.
people are like, why would you do that? Why, and I'm just trying to fix the show to go my way, right? Like I'm the director and everybody just, if you do this,
play the part,
do that.
Right.
Like, but it never works out. And here's the deal. Even when things have gone completely my way,
right,
I end up feeling fucked.
Well,
I end up feeling
and there, and there's some literature that, we talk about, and it doesn't always look like demand. I want to just be clear on that, right? Like, because it doesn't always look like me demanding you do a certain thing. I could be super nice and super sweet, right? And try to manipulate it into, like, again, we talked about it today. I have the uncanny ability to drag people along about how great shit's going to be,
hence our podcast
today, right? Because it's going to be great.
Hence the podcast in general. We're like, we're going to do this.
It's going to be awesome.
We're going to do a podcast. Okay.
Oh, but it is fucking awesome.
Right. It is awesome.
Okay, this was one of those scenarios.
But it worked out. It worked out to your favor.
Other side of that coin, though. I did step back. I said, hey, let's do this thing. And hey, I think it'll be really great. But I did not manipulate the stuff. No. There was actual room for decision making.
Sure.
I did not bombard you. But I have the ability.
Yeah, but I have some tools today, and most of the people that we're dealing with, I don't think a lot of people have like boundaries and stuff like that set into play, where when someone comes in and tries to take the show, like they just retaliate.
For sure.
Like you step on their toes,
but
and they retaliate because they're like, and they don't.
I don't want to do this.
Hey, you're being a
bitch.
No.
I'm bombarding bitch.
Well, yeah, you're bombarding me. This is how I feel. Instead they're just like,
right?
No.
Well, and that's the beauty of this thing, right? Like being in recovery and realizing that I can do it, and also hearing it, right? Being able to be in a place of receiving some negative feedback about self, right? And taking it under advisement. And for sure, I said, I want to go home. I want to go to bed. I don't even want to do this shit. Like, that's kind of where I was at. But that's just because I'm beating myself up, right? And so then we do some stuff and we do some talking and, you know, put these things in recovery that we do on the daily basis into play, right? And letting it go and cutting myself some slack and understanding that, you know what, other people do what I do. It doesn't make it okay, but it also makes me human.
But you're not alone.
Right. And that I am just a human being, right? And so now I have the ability that by 9 a.m. I am already readjusting my day, right? I'm adjusting my sail, not trying to man the ship.
Yeah, you're just keeping all your emotions and all those big things in check. Because anytime we act or react, right? It's not even acting, it's like we're reacting to life based on our emotions, like shit's getting out of hand. And I'm so guilty of that. Like on a daily, right? Like, I've got some practice that at least now, for a while, it was like, I couldn't even see that I was reacting out of emotion, you know? And then it got to a point where I was like, after the big blow up or the fight or this or that or the next, then I could see kind of like where I went wrong. And now I'm trying to like jump in front of it, right? Like I'm feeling big emotion, right? I got treat myself like a 4-year-old. I'm feeling big emotion. I can't haul off and hit you. And I can't tell you to go fuck yourself, which are things that is what I want to do. I either want to like get at you physically or I want to
beat you up emotionally.
Right. Yeah. I want to berate you and let you know. So like now I'm trying to jump in front of those behaviors and adapt these new behaviors. Well, what do I do when someone pisses me off? How do I act when someone
shut down?
Or how do I act when someone shoots me down? Right? Like if I have this great idea and you don't think it's great, then how do I, can I walk away from that and be like, okay, we have a difference of opinion.
Right.
Yeah, I can do that when I'm on the ball.
Right.
When I'm fucking spiritually fit to the max and everything in my life is going fine, I can do that. But get me hungry, angry, lonely, tired, any of those things.
Right.
And
I'm off the rails.
And you're fucking coming with me.
Right. Well, and that's why we're talking about it today, because that's how I've been, right?
Yeah.
Sleep schedules disrupted, eating shitty food. Like, I mean, and I know it sounds like kind of some petty shit, but it affects that emotional part of
100%.
me. 100%. Right? That thing that I need to have, not just like complete rigidity, right? And like the structure of my day, but just taking care of self. Right?
Right.
Doing some prayer and meditation, eating well, getting sleep. Those things help me and they go a long way to managing stress and managing other people and managing other people's personalities. You know?
And there's this idea of like, remember who you're dealing with, right? Like I have to go into every situation, and we'll talk about this in relationships too, but I have to remind myself who I'm dealing with every time I go out to dinner with someone, every time I have to interact with my family, every time I get on the phone. Like I have to remember that you're a person with your own certain quirks and things like that.
Right.
And I have to not change, but I have to adjust accordingly. You know, I can talk to you a lot different than I can talk to my own mother.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I may have to adjust my sail a little bit, and that can be challenging too, because you came home and you're dealing with 4 kids and, and dealing with
and they're all
kids.
miniature versions of me, which is fucked.
But yeah, and then you want to come home and you want to, be the mom and give you money for this, and I'm going to fix this problem for you, and I'm going to do that, and insert self. Right. But all these people have minds of their own and ways that they think. And so how can things like be, I can avoid a lot of emotional disturbance if I allow other people to be who they are and listen to them instead of just being like, here we go, we're going to do this, and you have a problem, and this is how I'm going to fix it for you. You didn't fucking ask me.
Right.
Can you believe nobody has ever asked me to solve their problems?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I have 4 kids. They've asked me to solve their problems. And so it's like, I forget that, right? Like I need to be asked now.
Right. I need to be asked.
Because they're adults. I've solved the problems of their world for so long. And now it's like taking that step back and adjusting myself yet again, right?
Right.
Because things are ever evolving, and just like we do in recovery, other people, lo and behold, evolve
Right.
too. And so trying to just remember that today, I don't need to step in and save the day, right? My ego doesn't need that sort of stroking anymore. Now I can be asked. And the good news is I never knew this either. For my emotional sobriety, I could say no.
Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
That's usually the best thing for your emotional
Yeah.
sobriety is
Like
to not take the phone
and
call.
set up a boundary, right?
Yeah.
Like to just who knew I could tell a kid no, especially at the age of 25. And if they fall on the floor and have a connection fit, I get to walk away.
It's not your fucking problem.
Cool.
Yeah.
But these are the things, right? Like I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And and so now, growing up at the age of 53 and starting to learn some stuff, it's not always pretty, for sure. This morning was not pretty.
Yeah.
Last night,
I
not
love
pretty.
that idea of no too, right? Like that is so huge to protect your emotional sobriety, your fucking serenity today. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I can't go there.
Yeah.
I can't do that because you're gonna irritate the shit out of me.
I'm gonna punch a bitch.
And when I'm irritated, then I act out,
For
and
sure.
I just can't. If I know that I can't do that yet, right?
Right.
Because the goal in my recovery and in my sobriety, it's not perfection, but it's just to be neutral on most things, right? Not let anything really get the rise out of me.
Right, for sure. And I think that that's what it is, right? Like when we talked just a little bit earlier, about the either lashing out or the silent treatment. And it's not really even silent treatment. It's just, I'm going to not say anything,
Right.
But to be in that place of neutrality regularly.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can still take your no or your feedback or your whatever and still be a person.
Yeah.
Right? Like still be a person. I don't need to do you the favor and keep my mouth shut. I need to do you the favor and maintain my relationship with you without getting my way.
Right.
Without getting my way.
Which is hard.
Which is hard.
The
And that's the challenge.
emotional sobriety is super challenging.
Yeah.
It's what needs for me to be worked on all day, every day. And I feel, sometimes I feel like, man, I'm getting really good at this one aspect, and then there's like boom and everything, right? Like everything's good at home, and
right.
I can manage the romantic relationship no problem, and we're good, and I've really figured this out, and blah blah. But then I go to work, and it's like explosion, right? Like how do you deal with people at work? Like
right.
that could be a whole other thing, but it's just.
It's never the one thing, it's
yeah.
all of the components to life, right? And I think that the only thing that I like, the takeaway from it, for me, right, after yesterday and today, and then prior to getting here, and all of the upheaval that I've been feeling, I think that, first of all, I'm talking about it, which was not anything I would have done prior to getting in recovery. It would have, and if I did talk about it, it would have looked vastly different. It wouldn't have been solution-based. It would have been more of the getting the Judy team together. Let's all be pissed off about this whole thing.
Right.
Versus
in the blame game.
Yeah, the victim, right?
Yeah.
Like it looks different today. I'm talking about it so I don't drink. I'm talking about it because I know I feel uncomfortable. I'm looking for solutions, even if it's shit I don't want to hear or do, and that I'm willing to a certain extent, right? The more I'm talking about it, the more willing I'm becoming to wanting to make this change and look at what's going on with me and why I'm unhappy and why I need to, or what I need to do in order to rectify that situation, right? Like, so, that looks vastly different today than it would have looked when I was drinking, and that's the thing, it's about progress. I'm not going to be that perfect person. I just need to be a person who's willing to change and grow. And today that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And that's enough.
I love this therapy session.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you,
you're
YouTube.
Yeah. So, all right. Like, subscribe, comment, share, notify, all the stuff.
Do the stuff.
We
love you.
At some point have a guest. We're gonna do a 3-part series on relationships where we got lots of things we'd like to do.
Irons in the fire,
Irons
as significant other ones, right? Irons in the
All right,
fire.
keep coming back.
Keep coming back.
That's all for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification button so you know when new posts are coming up. Keep coming back.